on. Next stop for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Detroit Lions at Minnesota Vikings. We're at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Lions 0-4, 0-2 on the road. Vikings 1-3, 1-1 at home. Let's see what we're dealing with. Minnesota opening up as 8-point favorites. That drops to 7.5. Heritage has moved it to 7. They're the first book to move it to 7. This total opened up at 49. It's still there. But U-Wager, Bodog, and Bet365 have moved it to 49.5. Then we move over to the cash flow in this spot. 4,791 tickets. The line predictor says that there's 84% confidence that the Detroit Lions will go to +7 at +100 or +7.5 at -120. We have 52% of the tickets on the Detroit Lions on the spread and 56% of the cash. Then we have 43% of the tickets and 99% of the cash. Now, with 4,791 tickets in, that just means that one very big bet has come in on the Detroit, Minnesota under. Trusty says no way in hell the Vikes should be 7.5-point favorites. Crumb in the house says I like the under with 2 decent defenses. Harold Williams says easy Vikings. Lions never beat the Vikings. Lions coming off a 24-14 loss at Chicago on Sunday. It was hilarious. Got laugh out loud. I laughed many, many times in the first half of the game, and like genuine gut laughter, sitting back very pleased with myself on the Bears. Dan Campbell and Brad. Well, Dan Campbell as now winless, 0-4. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, the combination, 0-4. Lions have lost 8 straight games. Jared Goff, 24-38 for 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, fumbled the ball 3 times, losing 2 of them. Quintus Cephas led receivers with 4 catches for 83 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 6 passes for 70 yards. Khalif Raymond caught 3 for 64. Jamal Williams ran 14 times for 66 yards. DeAndre Swift struggled. He ran 8 times for 16 yards, but did catch 4 passes for 33 yards. The Lions couldn't put pressure on Justin Fields in his first ever home start. That was integral if you were back in the Lions. 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. Linebacker Romeo Okwara will miss the remainder of the season after a torn Achilles. Frank Ragnow suffered a turf toe, going to be out for some time, was the word from Campbell. Offensive tackle Taylor Decker has a finger injury, unclear at this point. He's listed as questionable. Trey Flowers is questionable as well. Missed last week. Vikings come in off a 14-7 loss at home to the Browns. Cousins 20 of 38 for 203 yards, 1 touchdown. First interception of the season. Justin Jefferson led the receivers with 6 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. The TD came on the opening drive, and then the Vikings had 11 more possessions without scoring or even trying a field goal. Now, they were in field goal range on that last drive, but they needed 7 to tie. Thielen just 3 catches for 46 yards. KJ Osborne, 3 catches for 26 yards. Both receivers will be raring to come back. But Dalvin Cook did not look good returning from his ankle injury. 9 carries for 34 yards. Madison did no better. Ran 10 times for 20 yards. Eric Kendrick, Xavier Woods looked excellent. 10 tackles each. 3 sacks. Those were their only quarterback hits. Brashard Breeland left with an illness. He's expected to be good to go this week. Defensive tackle Michael Pierce, an elbow injury. He's listed as questionable. Cameron Danzler is now being moved to the reserve COVID-19 list. And that's a big blow. At this point, I couldn't decipher whether or not he's in close proximity and has a negative test, because there's guys who are being moved to the COVID-19 list that I've researched that are negative and should pop off immediately. I couldn't get that information on Dantzler. BC Johnson, the wide receiver, also on injured reserve. And Coach Zimmer is hoping that Anthony Barr will make his season debut this week. That'll be a huge deal if he does. We know what he's capable of. And cornerback Chris Boyd didn't play last week, remains questionable to go this week. Big shout out to Crumb. Thank you for your support with the $10 dono. We're very proud to work for Pub Sports Radio. And one of the things we're proud of is we'll never ask you for anything. And we'll never sell you anything. We just want to win together and succeed together and beat the books. So thank you for your dono. Here we go, Bebsie. Take it away, Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings.
Jimmy, just before I dive into this breakdown, I think the problem with the show is we're not getting drunk on Sundays watching football together when we fucking well should. Anyways, I'm putting that out there. Anyhow, back to this game. It's got to be Vikings or no play. The Vikings are sitting at 1-3. They're a much better team than 1-3. The Lions are sitting at 0-4. They're an 0-4 team. They've showed some heart at times, but look, the injuries are piling up, especially on that defense. Minnesota's a much healthier team. They're getting Barr back. The Dantzler thing, I think there's more to it. I feel like they're trying to move him. He's not happy there. So that I won't speak too much about because that's all hearsay and yada yada. But I don't know. It has to be Minnesota or nothing here. Again, just you'd like to get the 7, but I just. It's got to be Vikings rolling this one. I just don't see Goff leading a high-powered attack to match what the Vikings are going to do to this massacred Detroit defense. So, yeah, it's Vikings or no play here for me.
I agree. It just seems like a lot of points. It seems like we're going to have a very angry Minnesota Vikings squad on our hands, but it still feels like a lot of points. Rowdy says Goff was awful last week. Lions can't win. We'll talk about it in the Bears game, but the Bears offense did not look good, and it's not going to look good this week. You lose Montgomery. I mean, we'll go over all the issues that they're dealing with right now in Bear country. We saw what happens to the Bears when they're on the road in a tough place to play against a very good football team. They did, like one of the worst performances offensively we've seen in 10 years. Then they go home against the Lions and look good. Justin Fields looked good. Makes me think that this is a smash and grab for the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, and I understand why it looks like too much points, because you look at that 1-3 record and you think, why does a 1-3 team have a 7.5 point favor over this 0-4 team? But look, they were a missed chip kick field goal away from beating Arizona, the only undefeated team in football. They hung tough with a very good Browns. I love the Browns right now. I'm all over the Browns right now. They're playing great football. I believe in them. Myles Garrett he tweeted out that he didn't wear sleeves for the first time this year, and he's got a random piss test in the morning. That man is enormous. I love the Browns right now, but you got to take the Browns over Minnesota. That was one of the only places I was absolutely right this week. But, man, Minnesota isn't a 1-3 football team. They are better than that. Yeah, they've got a jackass of a head coach, but he's not near as bad as some of the other guys. Nagy, Urban Meyer come to mind. But that's why the spread is where it's at, because this team is much better than their record suggests. And I think it's a get-right spot for Minnesota right now.
Caveman says Dalvin Cook props here. Look what running backs have been doing to the Lions all season. I can't try. Who knows? Maybe it's Madison. We can't trust the balky ankle right now with Dalvin Cook. At least I can't. I'm not comfortable putting money on anything there. What do you think about this before we move on? We'll move on after this. Dennis Garcia says Detroit was better last week. They had 4 turnovers inside the Chicago 20. The fumble, and I guess it did touch Goff, but to me it looked like the center for the Lions just fumbled it over his own back into the arms of the Bears, and that really had me enjoying life. And I did have a friend, a good friend, who you know, Bebsie, Sonny Dollywall, who sent me money to make a bet for him on a parlay for the Lions, and Lions were included. It was a Lions Raiders parlay, and I said sure. I sent it in, and did none of that. Just sat back and took the $100 and smiled to myself. And it was that hike to himself that made me laugh hysterically. And please don't let Sonny know that. In saying all this, do you think that the Lions were much better than the score showed? Because there's a lot of truth to that.
I agree that the Lions were better than the score showed. but also bad teams find ways to lose games. And I do think this is not a very good team. So you wouldn't want to drink with Nagy, but would you with Urban? Urban looks like he's having a good time. Not now, but he did start out looking like he was having a pretty good time. So I don't know. If I had to choose, I'd drink with Urban over Nagy, but actually, I don't know.
Urban's not leaving the house for the next 2 years.
No, Urban's on house arrest for a little bit. I'm putting a question mark beside this because I do want to move on the Vikings. I don't love the number, but it's got to be mini or no play.
Well, at this point, I'm going to try to stick with this fast rule. And at this point, I won't do it. We have 52% of the tickets on the Lions, 56% of the cash on the Lions. So more cash than tickets on them. And that score flattered the Bears. So at this point tonight, I will not move on the Vikings. Let's move on from Lions, Vikings. But quickly, that total at 49, we didn't really touch on it.
I don't know. I guess I would probably lean to the under because I can see the Vikings getting up and just controlling this game with the ground. But I don't know. I wouldn't have a confident bet one way or the other.
Well, let's move on. And Jose, I still need 2 runs in that first 5, and I'm trying not to pay too much attention to it. I would be happy if your Red Sox win, but I still need to at least push this first 5 over. Okay, Nutflashan says Vikes team total over is the only look, and he says don't trust the Lions to score. And Birdie says, Slatsy, I like Mini to win all 4 quarters in this one. Thoughts?